What's up, guys? You're watching JayzTwoCents, and if you couldn't tell, we had a lot of a water cooling theme going on lately on my channel. You guys have been asking, and we're taking a look at all the things necessary at putting together an awesome water cooling build. And keeping that tradition and that series alive, we're taking a look today at the Alphacool Pro 25 LT Reservoir. Okay guys, today we're taking a look at the Alphacool 25 LT. I believe this is 2500, oh my god, it would be like gallons of fluid inside of your system. This is a 250 milliliter reservoir. The packaging it comes in, I love Alphacool's packaging. It's all the same as you can see here when you look at other Alphacool boxes, like we have the Rads over there. I just like the packaging. It looks kind of nice. When you open it up, right on top here inside of a very high-tech Ziploc baggie is your retaining brackets. And by the way, I've never figured out how to open a Ziploc bag quickly, so just bear with me here. You have your retaining brackets here for your reservoir, and they work just like that, just like any regular clamp. So you put the resin there and it clamps shut, and there you go. And it's got your hardware that you need to screw it in there. In fact, it's got a little nut. It's got a little nut that screws in or pops in right there, and then you screw in from the back of wherever you're going to drill this to mount it. So you've got your retaining brackets, high-tech foam, more high-tech foam, another plastic bag, and then you have your reservoir and nothing else in the box. The reservoir here is made of acrylic, and this is actually a version 2 of this reservoir. They had one out before, but it lacked one thing that a lot of people kind of complained about, and that one thing being this inner tube right here, which I might add is kind of scratched looking, but it's not really a problem. It's just aesthetics. And it is threaded so that you can move it to different ports inside of the top of the reservoir here. Now the cool thing about this reservoir is that it does have multiple ports on the top. So if you're going to be doing a build where you need to have multiple inlets and outlets, actually you only have one inlet or outlet on one side, and it is branded Alphacool on the top. On the bottom here you get your brass plugs for it, and you also get your threaded hole right here for your fitting. Now, a lot like I mentioned in the water cooling or the water block, these fittings are awfully close together. So if you wanted to have, say, a giant 1/2 inch inner diameter compression fitting like this, because of these two plugs right here, this is not going to fit. This, not at all. As you can see right there, it hits the plugs, which means you can't tighten it down. So it's kind of unfortunate, but there is a little bit of a fix for that if you were to use an extension. Now keep in mind, guys, this is because we're going with 1/2 inch. These are the biggest fittings they have. If you go with something smaller like a 3/8 inner diameter, you probably won't have that problem. But you can use this extension fitting like this on the top, which would then allow us to install a fill port or a return port or whatever you want with that. But as I started to mention earlier, and before I got sidetracked, the reason why this tube on the top is important is because if you're going to have a loop like mine in my 900D, where you want the return to the res coming in on the top, you can't let the water just cascade down into the reservoir and bubble around. You're going to aerate your fluid, and you're going to have bubble and air nightmares inside your tank, inside your entire loop. So what this tube does is it pushes the fluid down into the fluid level so that you could still have room on the top, a little bit of air on the top, so you have a place for the air to bleed out. This is absolutely necessary if you're going to be running a return on the top of your reservoir. Now if you wanted to have a fill port on the top and you're using like this and you have the inlet and outlet on the bottom, then your fill port can be right here on the top, and that can drip down in there with no problem at all. So because this is a 50 millimeter wide, as I break everything on the table, because this is a 50 millimeter wide tank and not a 60 millimeter wide, which is more common like with Bits Power and whatnot, this fits in a lot more tight spaces. That's kind of what she said. But anyway, because we're going to be putting this in a smaller full tower case, we're going to be putting this in a Switch NZXT 810, this is going to be perfect. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, because the fittings are so close together on the bottom, if you wanted to do inlet outlet on the bottom, you're going to have to use fittings that have a curve to them, like this 45 millimeter fitting here. That way you can, as you can see now, you could fit multiples of these together without any problems at all. In fact, let me take off one of these other plugs so you can see exactly what I mean. The last thing you want to do is have these giant fittings, which look really cool because half-inch tubing being nice and big, you know, we all know bigger is better, right, in most situations. There would clearly be a fitment issue there. But if you were to go with 2 of these 45s like this, you can see that we have absolutely no fitment problems whatsoever. So you could have this mounted on the back wall of your tank, and they could have this really cool kind of a, I don't know, really spacey look coming out of it. So this is required if you're going to be using big compression fittings like that. If you're using barbs, there's not going to be problems at all. Barbs will fit next to each other without any sort of problems. So we're going to go ahead and get this installed into our build, and we're going to see just how this thing performs at holding fluid. I mean, really, it's just holding fluid. As long as it doesn't leak, we're good, right? So let's go ahead and get it in there. There you have it, guys. The loop is installed. It's complete, 250 milliliter reservoir that does the job. Gives us plenty of mounting options, upside down, right side up, tons of different port options, and it holds our fluid without leaking. Who could ask for more? So if you're doing a custom water cooling loop, you definitely want to consider this reservoir. At just about 30 bucks, it is absolutely unsurpassed performance to price ratio. So there you have it, guys. If you liked what you saw today, hit subscribe, hit like. If you didn't, you know what to do. Check out all the information down in the description, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff if you have any questions about this product or any of the water cooling questions from this whole series that we're doing. And as always, I'll see you guys in my next video.